Hello everybody, Aaron the Nintintrovert here, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the first official episode of this brand new podcast that we're doing here on the channel, which I'm calling the Pictochat podcast. I thought that was kind of a clever name because this channel is mostly going to be focused on Nintendo-centric content. There's other stuff here as well, and there will continue to be other stuff, but primarily this is a Nintendo channel. And, I think most of us probably remember Pictochat on the Nintendo DS, this little application that was kind of pre-installed on the system where you could send each other drawings, like you could doodle stuff and more or less text each other on your Nintendo DS if someone was within close enough range. I remember doing that back in elementary school back in the day, playing Mario Kart DS with some of my classmates and stuff back. I don't know if anyone else at school let you do that, but like back at the end of the year during like CATS testing and stuff, like in the later portion of the day after we finished like testing, they would kind of let us we could bring our electronics and stuff to school and just kind of, the teacher might put on some movies or something for the rest of the day. So that was a fun period. I got a lot of fond memories of that. But Pictochat. I think most everyone knows what that is. There's a stage of it in Smash Brothers Brawl. With this being a podcast all about chatting about Nintendo, I just thought that Pictochat podcast was the perfect name. It's also got some good alliteration there. You got the double P sound, the Pictochat podcast. So I've not Googled to see if anyone else has the name Pictochat podcast because I'm scared I'll find out that it's already taken. So I'm just going to ignore that and just keep doing my own thing. And that way, if there is someone who's already got their own podcast called the Pictochat podcast, then I can play dumb and say well, I didn't realize that because I don't know that. I haven't looked it up. It sounds like something that somebody might already be doing. But dang it was too good of a name, and I don't want to have to come up with another one. So until we get hit with a copyright lawsuit, Pictochat podcast it is. I've got a few other videos on the channel which are a similar format where I talk about, I've got one giving my top 15 games that released in 2024. I've got another video where I'm kind of going over what I would like to see from Nintendo and kind of the games industry at large, but mostly Nintendo in 2025. So please go check out those videos if you haven't already. So this is going to be a similar vein to that, but this is going to be, again, this is the first official episode. I'm going to put those other videos into the same podcast as this, like into the same playlist. I mean, it should already be that way. So there's already a few other videos in the playlist, but this one will be titled Episode 1 of the podcast. So those other videos have kind of a podcast format, but they're not a podcast, so hopefully that makes sense. This is just kind of a exciting new venture that I thought would be fun to jump into. And now the plan, hopefully, is to maybe put out one of these like once a week. Maybe we end up shooting for one every 2 weeks. I don't fully know what the schedule of these podcasts are going to be yet. I don't even know when they're going to go up. I initially thought that I would upload these podcasts on Sunday, like every Sunday, but now I'm starting to think maybe Monday would be a better. So I don't know. Let me know if there's a preference for you on like what day of the week we upload these podcasts. Should it be on Saturday? Should it be on through the middle of the week, like Wednesday or something? I don't know. Trying to find a way to break up the content, because typically like Monday through Fridays will be episodes of a playthrough, whatever game we're playing. Most recently we played Donkey Kong Country Returns HD here on the channel, and I'll talk about a little bit about that game here at the end, because I thought we might have a segment just talking about the games I've been playing, kind of like the Kit and Krista podcast. I'm a big fan of them. They're former Nintendo employees. Go check out their channel if you haven't seen it. Big recommendation to them. But they have a segment where they talk about the news, and then another segment where they talk about just the games they've been playing over the past week. So that might be something that we do here. This first video is very experimentational, so we're just going to see how it goes down. I'm going to try to keep this maybe around an hour length in total, so fingers crossed we can skip to that threshold, because I tend to be very long-winded. So the first topic that we will be talking about is basically So I did a video on the channel, the day the teaser trailer for the Switch 2 dropped. Just kind of filming my live reactions, kind of giving my first impressions, and we're gonna go a little bit more into detail on that in this video. Talk about what I think about the Nintendo Switch 2, what I'm hopeful for, what I'm skeptical about, what I think about the new Mario Kart that's going to be coming out, as well as Donkey Kong's new redesign. I will be touching on that as well, and I'm also going to be talking about probably the biggest thing in this video is I'll be discussing my hopes, my expectations for the April Nintendo Direct that they've already confirmed, where they're going to just do the full big blowout, I guess. Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout, showcasing all the games that'll be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 in its launch window, I guess. Probably kind of just give us a roadmap of everything coming out in 2025, maybe a little bit into 2026. Yeah, and then also, I believe it was Nate the Hate, who's a very prominent industry insider / leaker, who correctly leaked the date that we were going to get the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer. I believe that was on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think it was was it Tuesday the 16th, maybe? Yeah, he's also saying that apparently, and this is what I was hoping for, I even said this in my video reacting to the Direct, how I was to the Nintendo Switch 2, that I was disappointed. We're going to have to wait till April to find out more. But I said that's fine if we get maybe a presentation like a Nintendo Direct in February focused on games that I can look forward to on the current generation Switch, because I think there's still plenty of life left in the console. And according to Nate the Hate, it sounds like that's maybe going to be happening. So that's very exciting. So we're going to talk about my thoughts on that as well. The games I would like to see them announce for the current gen Switch in a potential February Nintendo Direct ahead of the big April blowout. So with all that said, let's get started. And I also want to talk about the price point, how much I think that the Switch 2 is going to cost, when I think it'll be releasing, all that fun stuff. I'm not super technical as far as hardware specs, but we'll talk about expectations for battery life and how many gigabytes of internal storage it's going to have, and maybe some changes or improvements that might be coming to Switch Online and all that stuff. So yeah, let's get started. We'll talk about the hardware itself. Not a whole lot to say. It kind of leaked ahead of time. Basically, everything that Nintendo showed us, we already kind of knew about. Not really any surprises there in terms of the what the console looks like. They even showed the Joy-Con kind of on its side, moving around, kind of seemingly confirming the rumors about it having. I guess it wasn't so much rumors as it was leaked images of the hardware that showed a little sensor on the side of the Joy-Con that looked similar to what's on the bottom of a computer mouse. So presumably you'll be able to, move it around like this, click it with the R button, like you would a mouse. So that's pretty interesting. Again, no real surprise there, though. The extra button on the right analog stick, the right Joy-Con, I should say, which we've seen from leaked images. Nintendo didn't confirm it for sure. They also censored out the letter C, but we know that's what it is. Yeah, presumably it's going to have to do with social features, I guess. But we'll just have to wait and find out more. The console, obviously, it looks quite a bit larger, so that was kind of pleasant to see. I kind of had a hard time fully grasping just from the images that were being shared from the Chinese factory or wherever they're manufacturing these Switches, just how large the scale was. But it seems significantly bigger. Hopefully, it'll still feel portable and be convenient to take places. But the Joy-Cons need to be larger, so that's I think a good change. And it looks like the SL and SR buttons on the side are significantly bigger. So just overall, it seems like it's going to be a lot more comfortable to hold in the hands, because the Joy-Cons, I would say, are borderline unplayable on their side. And I still don't know, like with the right Joy-Con in particular, just like where the analog stick is placed so much further down, like if you're holding it sideways. Um, I don't know if that's going to be very comfortable to use, but the left Joy-Con at the very least might be a more feasible controller now. I don't know. And then of course they shut off the magnetic connection. There's like little ports where it connects via magnets instead of how you slide them in on the original Switch. Um, so yeah, a lot of little quality of life changes and stuff. Nothing super groundbreaking. It was a very, people have been speculating about this new console for literally years now. First it was the Switch Pro, and then especially since probably 2022, maybe even 2021. I don't know. Rumors, have been in overdrive about what Nintendo's next system is going to be. When's the Switch 2 coming out? So there's been a lot of hype, a lot of anticipation going into it. But it was a very underwhelming reveal, I have to say, and that's not just because everything leaked ahead of time. I think even if nothing had leaked and we went in completely blind, there really wasn't a whole lot to be super blown away about. And personally, that's kind of how I'm feeling about the new Mario Kart so far. Now that I've had time to just kind of sit and just let everything sink in, I think in some ways I'm more skeptical than excited, and I kind of hate that. Some people are kind of lamenting that Nintendo didn't do anything big and crazy and groundbreaking like how they always tend to innovate. Seemingly not a whole lot of innovation going on with this new console. I think that's fine. There's a few things I would have liked to have seen that I'm a little disappointed aren't there from Nintendo. But at its core, the Switch needs to be kind of more of the same because they've got a working formula. Nintendo, I think, have finally started to learn if something's not broken, don't try to fix it. Because they've done that time and time again with their hardware and even with their game franchises like Paper Mario. Just went completely off the rails for the longest time, and now they're finally reeling it back in and going back to, making RPGs great again. um, but. But yeah, so I don't have a problem with it being more or less the same, but I feel like they needed to show more, and I think Nintendo kind of dropped the ball a little bit. Obviously, Nintendo is concerned about gameplay first and foremost. How fun are the experiences? They're not as concerned with raw graphical horsepower. We've seen from rumors and leaks and stuff how powerful the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be. Apparently, it's going to be about on par with a PS4, maybe even PS4 Pro, which for a handheld, that's pretty good. And then the PS5 really, PS5, Xbox Series X haven't really done anything super groundbreaking, to really warrant the extra power that those consoles offer for the most part. So, probably going to be able to play most, if not all, current gen games, no problem. So we'll probably get a lot more third-party support and everything. But you wouldn't know that watching the teaser trailer. They showed off the new Mario Kart. Graphically, it didn't really look all that great. It just kind of looked like Mario Kart 8 again. Like if you look close at like kind of the road textures, because it's kind of they show off this track. It's called Mario Brothers Circuit apparently, and it's kind of you're kind of driving down sort of a rugged. It's kind of like in the desert somewhere, but kind of like in like the American West or something. You're passing like gas stations and a diner. It kind of looks like out in Nevada somewhere. I don't know. Kind of there's been tracks like that in Crash Team Racing, for example, is where my mind immediately went. But yeah, honestly, if I were to compare it side by side with Crash Team Racing's desert track, I would say Crash Team Racing looks better. And, that's a game, that came out on PS4 and on the Switch 1 and everything on current gen Nintendo hardware. And that kind of looks better than what we're getting here. And that was back in like 2019, I think, when that game came out. So, like, I don't know. I wasn't that blown away by the track that they showed off, and I'm hoping as they show more about the game, I'll get more impressed. But yeah, it just kind of looks like Mario Kart 8. Again, it looks more like base Mario Kart 8, and it looks more realistic and not going for the more cartoony style that the DLC got. Um, so, but yeah, again, like the textures on the road look pretty good, pretty varied. I didn't notice like where you could see the textures repeating really quickly. Like usually you can kind of discern a pattern of like, okay, like this is like a, I don't know, 16 by 16 square that they've copied and pasted to make the road. Like it looked like these were pretty large textures, where it's like, oh, there's a little scuffs in the road and stuff here that, if you drive 3 feet, you're not going to see those same exact scuffs again, if that makes sense. Um, I saw where, I don't know the name of his channel. I actually just subscribed to him the other day. I'd never heard of him before. But he's this Asian guy who makes games for the Nintendo Switch, and he did kind of a technical analysis and talked about like the textures, being really nice and how they don't repeat super quickly, and how you can see like shadows off into the distance, and that the draw distance appears to be really good. You can't really see any of the shadows from far off, like popping in, like the shadows on like the underneath like the road signs and stuff like that, and like the street lights are still rendered in from like very far away, even when the camera kind of pans out. So he's very, he gave it a lot of praise. But if you're not a developer like he is, just a more casual person, or even somebody like me who's like a kind of a hardcore gamer, I guess, but isn't like super technically inclined. Just to the naked eye, it doesn't look that great. You have to really kind of like hold the footage under a microscope and have like this knowledge, all this knowledge from game development like this guy does, to be able to say, no, this is a big step forward. Just to look at it, it doesn't look all that much better. It doesn't scream to me like, yeah, this is really benefiting from the new hardware. So I think that's a little bit of a problem. I appreciated that guy's technical analysis showing me why I should be excited. But he shouldn't have had to have made that video. Nintendo should have conveyed that well enough themselves. So they kind of dropped the ball there. It didn't instill in me a lot of confidence that the next console is going to look significantly better from a graphical perspective. And watching his video, I still have some trepidation. So I'm hoping those fears will be alleviated more after we get the April presentation, see more of the games running, see more tracks besides that one. I think that was kind of a bad track to show, to be completely honest. This desert track that has a lot of a lot of dust effects, a lot of fog. That kind of kills me about Breath of the Wild. I don't know if it was just like kind of to mask like the draw distance, because like in Breath of the Wild, it felt more like for graphical limitations. Apparently, that's not why they've got it all this haze and fog here on this Mario Kart track. But I just think it makes it look ugly. It's like if you have this high resolution console with 4K graphics, like why does this racetrack have all these like really really dense like dust storms that make it where you can hardly see the road in front of you? You know what I'm saying? So I think they should have showed a track that was a nice, crisp, clear image. But yeah, so I wasn't super wowed by that. People have pointed out, like if you go frame by frame, the animations are a lot better. There's a lot of like squash and stretch animation going on that gives it more of a cartoony, bouncy kind of vibe, and so that's pretty. I guess pretty next gen. They kind of already were able to do that in Super Mario Brothers Wonder, but that's a 2D game, so they were able to pull that off with more tricks in perspective and more optical illusions. Like if you were to turn Mario's 3D model to face a different direction. Boundary Break should really do a video on Super Mario Brothers Wonder. I know he did one for Link Between Worlds, and just kind of the stuff that they do to play with the perspective in those 2D games like that. If you look at it from a different angle, it looks all kinds of wrong and messed up. Like Mario's got an eye here, and then maybe he's got another one. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like where you're only seeing it on a 2D plane because it's a side-scrolling game. It makes it easier to have these big animations and stuff like that kind of push the boundaries on what you can do. So seeing that in a full 3D space is probably that's pretty impressive. I guess that is a pretty big step up compared to what we've seen before. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see more of that. So in terms of animations, you can definitely see an improvement over the base game of Mario Kart 8. But just in terms of the raw graphical capabilities, it's hard to see just with the naked eye what makes it that much better. There are going to be 24 racers on the track, so I guess that in and of itself, being able to render that many individual, racers on the track, is pretty good. I guess I don't know if having double the racers means twice the graphical power being used. I don't know. Again, I'm not a tech expert. So that's going to be pretty neat. But yeah, I don't fully know because again, Mario Kart 8 came out on originally that was a Wii U game before it came out on the Switch. It was ported over, and that game came out on the Wii U back in like 2014. So it's been like 11 years now. And even back then, when it first came out, the Wii U was underpowered compared to what could be done on the PS4 and on the Xbox One. So it did look very good even at the time. For a Wii U game, it looked pretty on par with like what Sony or Microsoft could have done in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's a very old game at this point, over a decade old, and so I really thought we were going to see the first footage of the new Mario Kart, and I was just like, whoa, like my mind is blown by how much better it looks. But like, and it's not even, I wouldn't have minded, whether they kept it more realistic like Mario Kart 8 was, or if they leaned in. I didn't like it at first as much. It seemed like a little cheap, like unfinished, like how the Booster Course Pass, a lot of those tracks looked, where they kind of went more cartoony and less detailed textures and stuff like that. But I started to warm up to it. And think like, well, maybe this is the right direction for Mario Kart. So I would have been fine either way. But what they landed on, it just kind of looks like Mario Kart 8, but not that much better. I'm sure, again, under the hood, there's a lot more going on than I'm giving it credit for. Like that guy's video. I wish I knew his name. I might have to pull up his channel here to see what that guy's channel name is. But yeah, I subscribed after watching that video of his. He's got other videos where he kind of analyzes, what to make of the new controller and stuff like that. Let's see. Come on, it should be here somewhere, right? Let me go to my liked videos because I know I liked his his video. I just hate to like reference somebody like another content creator and not like shout them out by name specifically. Just give me just 1 second, guys. This is definitely a very casual video here while I'm scrambling to find it. Where's my playlist of liked videos? Why am I not seeing it on here? Anyway, I'll keep looking. We'll just keep talking while I look for this guy's channel. But yeah, so the characters, they look a lot more like their classic incarnations. You've got Mario. His mustache has more of an extra curvature to it. And then you've got Bowser. I noticed like his fangs look sharper and maybe a little bit further apart, like how they're spaced. And so Bowser looks a lot more menacing in ways that he hasn't in a very long time. If you look at Bowser's sprite in Super Mario Brothers 3 on the NES, for example, and especially in Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, he looks genuinely very menacing in those games. Like, he's kind of scary. I can imagine, like, little kids playing Mario for the first time, like 5 years old, being kind of scared, maybe having nightmares of that Bowser. But he's kind of lost that edge over the years, I would say, and Bowser's become a lot more of a comedic villain. But in the new Mario Kart, he looks more menacing, and so I can appreciate that. I like that. People have pointed out they also kind of shrunk his head down some. Peach, it's kind of hard to get a good look at her and some of the other characters like Yoshi. I don't know if you can really tell a whole lot of difference with them. But I think we've also seen evidence of Rosalina. Looks like maybe Pauline. A lot of like kind of the Mario characters you would expect. Bowser Jr. Of course, Luigi's in there. I don't think I mentioned Luigi. But yeah, a lot of people have made comparisons that it kind of looks like Mario Kart 64's box art. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that they went with that more almost kind of a classic feel. I would say, and some people might say this is a little silly, but I don't know. Nintendo for the longest time had a bad rep, that they got in during the Wii day or the Wii U days. Also, kind of in the GameCube days as well. of being a kid company, to where it alienated some of the audiences to where it just didn't feel cool to play Nintendo games, But now we've kind of finally gotten back to that point with like the Switch and Breath of the Wild was such a smash success, and Mario Odyssey. So this game taken more of a cartoony, in some ways maybe just a little bit more cutesy look at a lot of these characters like Mario. Again, Bowser looks pretty cool, but like Mario, he looks maybe a little bit more cutesy. I would just caution Nintendo to be a little careful because it's a little scary. They run that risk, and I just don't want to see that happen again of Nintendo getting this negative perception as being a kids company as opposed to a family company, because those two things are different. Um, but uh, but yeah, so Donkey Kong though had the biggest design change. He has less of a ruffled forehead. So his eye, he kind of looks a lot dopier, and he also looks massive. Like his arms kind of sticking out, like he can barely fit in the cart. That's kind of how it looked back in the original Super Mario Kart on the SNES. Technically, that wasn't Donkey Kong; that was actually Donkey Kong Jr. But I know in that game he was a pretty chunky boy, squeezed into that cart. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if that makes me want to race as Donkey Kong, because if your character's that wide, I feel like with the camera behind them, that's going to make it kind of harder to see the road ahead of you when his wingspan is like in the way, kind of blocking what's in front of you. So I don't know. I don't know how fun he'll be to race as necessarily. As far as the design itself, I'm kind of torn on it. I don't love it, but at the same time, I've never been a very big fan of Donkey Kong's character design. Like I've always thought it looked kind of dopey. I usually don't play as Donkey Kong in like Mario games. I love the Donkey Kong Country series, for example. But because of the gameplay, because of the music, because of all these other aspects of the game, not so much because of Donkey Kong himself. I mean, his moveset's great and all that, but just in terms of like his character design, it's never really done a whole lot for me. So I'm totally fine with Nintendo trying something different. Does this stick the landing? I don't necessarily think so. A lot of other people have apprehension about it. I don't think it's all doom and gloom though. Some people are acting like oh, this is going to be Donkey Kong's design moving forward in all the games, and the next Donkey Kong Country we get, he's going to look like this. I don't think that's the case. I think the new design is too dopey to be taken seriously. I don't know if this is just a thing for Mario Kart, or maybe this is how Donkey Kong is going to look in all Mario spin-off games moving forward. I think that would be interesting, and I would be fine with that if Donkey Kong has a different design when he's in a Mario game versus when it's a Donkey Kong game. You know what I'm saying? A design that's more true to his arcade roots, or how he looked in the Mario movie. I think that could be pretty interesting. But yeah, the reason I don't think that's a permanent design change for Donkey Kong is because Nintendo in Japan last year just opened up the Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo World that like doubles the size of the park. And that's also opening here in the States in Orlando, Florida this year. So it doesn't make sense, at all from a marketing, from a business, from a corporate perspective to redesign a character at the exact same time that you're spending all that, like I'm sure millions of dollars has to go into opening a park, a full theme park with all these life-size animatronics that move and talk and that use the old design. If you're gonna just throw that away, that doesn't make any sense at all, And so I don't see that happening. I don't think that's what's going on here. I think this is just an alternate take on Donkey Kong. Again, maybe this is how Donkey Kong will look in all Mario games moving forward, but this isn't how he's going to look in Donkey Kong games moving forward. Next time we get a Donkey Kong Country game, or like if Retro Studios makes a new one, or another company, or if Nintendo's finally makes like a new 3D sandbox Donkey Kong game, he's not going to look the way he does in Mario Kart. I feel very confident about that because, again, that just wouldn't make sense with the theme park, with all the merchandise, because you can buy DK merch in the park that uses DK's old design. So, like, why would they just completely do away with that? So, I don't know. I would be okay with, Maybe they do redesign Donkey Kong for his own series a little bit, but it's more subtle. Personally, I'll pull it up on my phone here and show it to the camera. But my favorite iteration of Donkey Kong, I think this design is perfect. I actually love it. This is the only Donkey Kong model that I love. But that's from Smash Brothers Ultimate. So let me pull it up here, and I'll just hold my phone up to the camera here. But they kind of merge his his classic arcade design with his rareware design that he's had ever since the 90s in Smash Ultimate. And let's see. I just view this image full size, please. Are you going to let me do that? Hold on. Just a second. Okay, whatever. I'll just have to show it like that. But they kind of give him this more menacing sort of look about. I don't know what Snapchat notification. I don't even use Snapchat. See how he's kind of got like this mischievous smile about him, and like he looks almost kind of more evil, like his arcade counterpart from back in the day. So I think that's pretty cool. I like that. And I wish that they had kind of stuck with that moving forward, because it's still the Donkey Kong we know, with his swirly hair and everything, and his tie with the DK logo on it and everything. Still the same frilled eyebrows, but that kind of sinister grin. I don't know. That really appeals to me. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Donkey Kong '94 game on the Game Boy, where he's a bad guy in that too. And like when you fight like the final boss, he's also kind of got that evil kind of Japanesey looking grin. Let me pull that up. DK 94 final boss. Yeah, so they kind of carried over this like kind of sinister grin that he had here into Smash Ultimate, and I just think that works. I really like that. So for the Donkey Kong Country games, I'd like to see him look more like that. Still very familiar, but just kind of change his mouth a little bit. His fur is also kind of a lighter color in Smash Ultimate. I think I maybe even kind of prefer that too. But I don't know. It all just comes down to personal preference. But yeah, the thick Kong that we're getting, he's the new Chunky Kong that we're getting in Mario Kart 9 or whatever it's going to be called. I don't think that's going to be like a permanent thing, and if it is, it's going to be relegated just to the Mario games, because it just doesn't make sense with the park to completely change his design like that. Yeah, so that's that. Hopes for the new Mario Kart. I hope that Nintendo is very upfront about supporting this game throughout the entire console generation of the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't want us to have to wait 4 years or however long it was from when Mario Kart released. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came to the Switch in 2017, and then I think 4 years later, I think it was in 2021, was when we finally got the Booster Course Pass that started bringing in like new tracks and doubled the amount of content. I want Nintendo straight out from the gate to support this game long term, kind of like they do with Splatoon. But even that, kind of just with the Switch life cycle, the Switch 2 life cycle in total, for like all of Nintendo's major online games, I want them to support them throughout the whole life time of the console with new content updates, and really make these evergreen games that you come back to again and again. Like Splatoon, I don't think there was a need for Splatoon 3 to exist at all. I just don't. They didn't need to stop the content updates for Splatoon 2 after a couple years. They could have just kept going. The campaign that they added to Splatoon 3, and then also I'm trying to remember what the name of the expansion was. Splatoon 2 had the Octo expansion. Splatoon 3 had Side Order. That's what it was called. Those could have been extra like paid campaigns, DLC campaigns for Splatoon 2. So like, do more of that, Nintendo. Don't like support these games for a year or two. Like Animal Crossing, New Horizons, same thing. They really dropped the ball on that one. But that's what I want to see for Mario Kart. I want them to be like, hey, this console, we're gonna, this is gonna be on shelves for another 8 years, just like the Switch One was, and every year, until the Switch 3 or whatever, we're gonna be putting out new content for Mario Kart, as well as our other bigger, key franchises. Smash Brothers, they cut off DLC for that game after a few years. Like, just you can keep making Smash Brothers characters forever, and people will keep buying them. It's easy. It's easy publicity. People go nuts for those reveal trailers. It promotes whatever franchise that character's from. It promotes Smash Brothers. It's just a win-win situation. So I definitely want to see more of that. I want Nintendo, if the new game, and I think probably what they're going to do, I think the new Mario Kart, I'm hoping it's going to launch with a considerable amount of content. I don't want it to come out and like it's kind of slim pickings, and then Nintendo promises, oh, we're going to, release additional content, that blah 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 for free over the whatever. Like, I would rather them do paid content, but the game launch with a substantial amount of content from the get go, instead of piecemealing the game to us and finishing this unfinished product, and saying like, oh, we're doing it for free. So it's because that's something I'm concerned about for the new Mario Kart, just a little bit, because when you look at stuff like all the Mario sports games, Nintendo Switch Sports, a lot of their multiplayer games this gen have come out, even Splatoon 2, come out, and they feel kind of lacking in content, where it's like, in the case of Splatoon 2, I know a lot of people kind of argued like, oh, well, this kind of just feels like a port of Splatoon 1. This is like Splatoon 1.5, but they updated that game a lot with, they added like Clam Blitz and a bunch of different stuff to make the game feel more like its own. But it launched, same with like ARMS. ARMS came out. I think there was only maybe like 10 characters and 10 stages or something like that. And they ended up maybe like doubling that eventually. But, even then, a lot of these games, like the Mario Strikers Battle League or Mario Tennis Aces, they get the DLC, they add this extra content. But even with that, it still's like kind of, you added this content, but like, the 3DS game had like, in the case of like Mario Golf World Tour has like 3 times the amount of content that was in Mario Golf Super Rush, because that game was super rushed. So don't do that. I think what they're going to do though, because it seems kind of fishy that they cut off the Booster Course Pass with 96 tracks in Mario Kart. So it's like, oh, we were 4 away. We're so close to getting 100. That's going to be a big, on the back of the box selling point for the new Mario Kart, I think. Over 100 tracks, to choose from. So I think all of I'm hoping, fingers crossed, maybe not. Of course, I want new stuff. I want new tracks, new characters. I kind of just want all the content from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the booster course to just be there from the get-go, I want to be able to just boot up Mario Kart 9 or whatever. Basically, I want Mario Kart 8 to be irrelevant. I don't want to have to switch the 2 carts out if I'm like racing with friends and it's like, what track do you guys want to play on? Like, oh, let's race, I really enjoy Coconut Mall. Let's do Coconut Mall. I don't want to have to take out Mario Kart 9, put Mario Kart 8 in just so we can race on Coconut Mall. Like, it needs to all be in the same game, just cumulatively. As well as just all the other racetracks from the mobile game that didn't come over, because it's also, I think, a little suspicious that they put in all of the original tracks that were in Tour, with the exception of, what was it called, like Piranha Pipeline? I don't know what it's called, but it's got like fuzzies. There's like 2 branching paths. You can go left or right. That's the only one they didn't bring back from the mobile game, so it seems kind of weird, unless they're saving that for the new Mario Kart. So I hope they put that in there. I hope it's going to have, Luigi's Mansion. Why didn't that track get added to the Booster Course Pass? That's a fan favorite. Everybody loves that one. Airship Fortress. Why wasn't that added? A lot of people have been asking for Wario Coliseum. Then you got stuff like Dino Jungle. Like, a lot of games, a significant amount of games didn't come over that were remade in the mobile game. So it just makes all the sense in the world since the mobile games, like, it's not getting any new content. I don't know if they've said they're shutting it down. They probably will before long. I imagine they'll probably announce it. I could see them shutting down Mario Kart Tour before the new Mario Kart even comes out. So with that the case, for the sake of preservation, just put all that stuff in the new Mario Kart. They even added like battle maps to that game, battle maps that weren't in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So, yeah, just give us. I would love. Maybe this is a little too pie in the sky. I don't know. I would love for the game to have like every track that's ever been in Mario Kart. Just the most content rich Mario Kart game ever. I don't know how many tracks that would be. Probably like 150 plus, probably more than that. Plus all the battle maps. There's probably like, I don't even know, probably 30 of those or more. Who knows? Just everything, just cram packed in there. That's the dream. That's my pipe dream. I don't know if that's realistic, if that's going to happen. Maybe over time we'll eventually get that if they do consistently update the game with new content every 6 months or however long. Drop a new batch of 4 or 8 racetracks or whatever. Maybe like one cup, 4 tracks plus a one battle map or something, and like 2 new characters. I don't know, but eventually this be, the Smash Brothers Ultimate of Mario Kart. That game's slogan was "Everyone is here." I want this Mario Kart to be "Everywhere is here." Da 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 da. And I know some people might say that's kind of lame, like they're kind of tired of, like they want new content. They've been playing Mario Kart 8 for so many years, and they just want something fresh and new, and not, all the same tracks and stuff. Of course, I want new stuff too. But I don't know. I really don't like. I want all that content to still be there. I don't want a hard reset to where it's like, oh, it's all new tracks in the new Mario Kart, but there's like 32, or 48. Like I don't want it to go back to that. After Mario Kart 8 spoiled us with 96 tracks now. Like I feel like they just kind of need to keep going bigger. That's what I want to see happen anyway. Um, but but yeah, hopefully, there's presumably going to be a lot of characters because if there's going to be 24 racers, people have talked about maybe they'll even have cosmetics too to ensure that people aren't using the same racer. I hope they do have a bunch of the costumes like from Mario Kart Tour. I don't care about the weird, like a lot of mobile games will have like weird costumes. It's like, oh, it's the Christmas outfit or it's the, they've got some weird stuff like Luigi has like the German lederhosen outfit or whatever. He's got a sausage on a pronged fork or whatever. I don't really care about that stuff, but like stuff that's like actually in other Mario games, I'm all for that. Like if they have a Dr. Mario skin for Mario, if they've got a WarioWare skin for Wario, where he's got like his biker vest and jacket on, and his like fingerless gloves, I'd love to see that. Or Mario Maker Mario, where he's got his builder hat on, stuff like that. Costumes like that, I would be open to. But yeah, I don't necessarily want like, oh, it's Reindeer Yoshi, like from the Christmas promotion or whatever that Mario Kart Tour had. Because like Crash Team Racing did that stuff too. I'm just not into. I'm not going to be mad if it's there, but I mostly just want to see stuff like King Boo having his Luigi's Mansion design where he's more sinister and he's got like a purple tongue and his eyes are all like glowing and he's got like the gemstone in his crown instead of like the more sanitized Mario version of King Boo. But yeah, there's a lot of characters in Mario Kart that were in Mario Kart Tour that weren't added to 8 Deluxe even with the DLC. They brought over like Pauline and Funky Kong and Diddy Kong, but no Dixie Kong. She was in it. King Bob-omb. I want to say Monty Mole is in there, but I think they've even got like Hammer Brothers, and they've got different skins if you want to be like the Fire Brother or the Boomerang Brother, Charge and Chuck. So there's still a lot of characters that they can draw from that was in Mario Kart Tour. Donkey Kong Jr., they could bring him back. They could even do it as like the Super Nintendo sprite because that looked pretty cool. That'd be a cool alt, like if they have like for Mario that Super Nintendo 16-bit version, because I know that was a thing they put in Mario Kart Tour. And other characters that's not in the game, they could put like King K. Rool. I know Nintendo's kind of weird about like apparently there's no King K. Rool representation at the Donkey Kong Park, which is kind of stupid. But like they put him in Smash Brothers. They know people like King K. Rool, and he used to be in like Mario baseball and stuff. So like, why not put him in there? I don't know if they're gonna go full spin off, like put in characters from like say, the Mario RPGs like Fawful or somebody like that. I don't really see that happening. Maybe like years down the line, maybe they'll do like a RPG update, that adds characters and maybe a track or a couple tracks based on Paper Mario or something. A Paper Mario track could be kind of cool. Like everything's like a 2D, like it's like a pop up book or something. That could be kind of fun. How realistically do I see that happening? I don't know. But so yeah, there's they could bring in those characters, but I don't really see it. Like the partners from Paper Mario, I don't think they're gonna go that obscure. Um, they might bring in like Professor Egad. I know people have asked for him for years at this point. They might throw him in there. I'm trying to think of some other characters they could put in. Maybe there'll be a new character we've never seen because they're going to be in the new 3D Mario. But yeah, so I'm cautiously optimistic for the new Mario Kart. I have a lot of concerns. Also, with there being 24 racers on the track, I don't know if that's going to be mandatory or if that's just going to be an optional mode. That makes me concerned that the roads are going to be too wide. To where, like, say, if they bring back those old tracks, if they have to, like, really, like, significantly scale them up to accommodate all those racers, if they're just going to be that much easier, and so, like, you're not getting, you're not falling off the track near as much. Like, I just feel like that could really kind of ruin the essence of Mario Kart, kind of take away some of the extra skill involved. And hopefully they balance the items well enough that with 24 players it doesn't feel just too chaotic, where it's like you're getting blue shelled constantly and like, somebody's getting lightning like twice every lap or something. So hopefully Nintendo's accounted for that. Mario Kart Tour, I think now that I'm thinking about it, it also had some items that weren't in Mario Kart 8. Like I think they have some of the Double Dash items, like where you can throw like Bowser's shell. You had like character specific items. That could be pretty cool if they kept that, if they brought that back, like from Double Dash and from the mobile game. Also, the Mega Mushroom that makes you giant, that was only in the Wii game. If they want to bring that back, that'd be pretty cool. The other items in that game kind of sucked in Mario Kart Wii. They had like the Thunder Cloud that was like the bad luck item that you got to like hurry and pass to somebody else. Like that was kind of a stupid one. And then like the POW block thing where you have to like time your shaking of the Wii remote perfectly so you don't spin out. That was another odd one. But the other ones, they can bring those over. I might be in the minority. I kind of liked the Tanuki tail that was in Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS. If they wanted to bring that one over. But yeah, I just want more or less everything to be here. All of the like car parts. It looks like there's going to be a lot of new car like vehicle customization options, and that's cool too. But Mario Kart 8. It's kind of surprising that with all the DLC, we never got new car part, like new vehicle combinations, like tires and like especially the paragliders. There's like I don't know, maybe like 8 paragliders. Like I feel like there's less than 10. There's not a lot of paragliders in Mario Kart 8, which is kind of surprising. So like put in. I know they've got a lot of cool car parts in the mobile game. Bring those over. A lot of cars and stuff that they brought back from past Mario Kart games. Just put all that in there, like ones from Double Dash and from Mario Kart Wii and stuff that would make me feel nostalgic to have in in this game. So put all that in there. Yeah, I don't know. Just bring back a lot of the old stuff. As far as like new content they could add. Some people have hoped that the next Mario Kart would be more of like a Super Smash Kart or a Nintendo Kart. Doesn't look like that's what they're doing here, and I was never one of those people who was in that boat, really. But that said, if they want to add a few extra Nintendo characters that aren't from Mario, I'm fine with that. Like we've already got, Animal Crossing in there. We've got... I could see them putting in a couple more Animal Crossing characters. We've got, like, Isabelle, and we've got, like, the Villager. They could put Tom Nook and KK Slider in there. I wouldn't be mad about that, because they are also kind of faces of the franchise, and just with as well as New Horizons sold, it would kind of make sense. So put them in there. I could see those two getting into Smash Brothers also. But yeah, as far as characters like from franchises not represented yet, I could see him putting Kirby in there, and he could have like a Warp Star vehicle that could be pretty cool. You know, Captain Falcon, Fox, and a little R-wing car that could be pretty cool. Um, so yeah, if they want to get some third party characters in there, I wouldn't oppose it. Maybe those could be characters that come later on in like updates, whether paid or free. That could be pretty cool. They could do Pit from Kid Icarus and like the Lightning Chariot from that game or something. I don't know. What other franchises does Nintendo have? They got like Punch Out. Oh yeah, I'm looking at my amiibo shelf. How could I forget Pikmin? That would be great to see Olimar in the game with like his rocket ship as a car. I would love a Pikmin racetrack where it's like everything's just gigantic. You've got all these like flowers and like dandelions and daffodils that's like towering over you, and like you're just microscopic in size. I think that could be really fun, and you just got like these giant bulb orbs and stuff on the track. I've always thought it'd be interesting. I don't know how they would pull it off though. It'd probably have to be like a one lap track, and who knows how they get out. We might not want to think about it too hard, but where you like go inside of like a creature's like body, and so instead of like bouncing on like mushrooms, you're bouncing on their like organs and crap, and if you fall off the track, you fall into like a vat of stomach acid. Like, I don't know how they would pull that off, but I think that would be really cool. I would like to see that. Some kind of like maybe like a Bowser's Inside Story track or something. I don't know. Again, I don't think they're going to really lean into the spin-offs. I thought the city tracks from Mario Kart Tour were interesting. Some were better than others. I'd be open to a few more, not like a ton of new city tracks, like of real world cities, but the ones they put in the game are very Euro-centric. It's mostly like America and then like Europe, and then of course like there's some Asian stuff in there too. You've got like Bangkok and Singapore and of course Tokyo, Japan. But like they could put in like a some kind of an African track or like a they got Spain, but that's Europe, not really any like Latin American representation. So like if they wanted to do like a I don't know a Mexico or like a Brazil track where you're in like a rainforest or something, that could be pretty cool. Just like with a lot of wildlife or something. I don't know. That could be. I'm not like someone who thinks like every you've got to meet like a certain racial quota, like but there's other parts of the world that could have been more represented. It just seems weird to have Mario Kart Tour and the whole thing be about how you're going around the world to all these real life cities, and then to leave out just very key continents, not just countries, continents. So if they want to do a few more of those, I don't know. Nintendo's made so many tracks that it's hard for me to think about a lot of stuff they could do brand new that we haven't seen. Oh, they could put Samus and her ship could be a character. They could do like a pretty cool like Metroid track that's on like planet Zebes or something. Like I feel like having like an alien planet is kind of different that we've never really seen in Mario Kart. So that could be pretty cool. I'd like to see. I don't know that. I don't really think they're probably going to have like a bunch of like third party racers in this game, but I'd really like to see Pac-Man, especially if Namco isn't going to make like some kind of a new Pac-Man racing game. Put him in Mario Kart. I think that would be awesome. They've already got like the amiibo costume you can get in Mario Kart 8. I love Pac-Man. But he's also in like the Mario Kart arcade games because Namco made those, and Pac-Man has arcade, roots or whatever. So in like Mario Kart Arcade GP 1 and 2, like you can race as Pac-Man and even a few other Namco characters. See how like put Pac-Man in Mario Kart. I would love that if he's in actually like a mainline console Mario Kart. You can race as Pac. He would probably be my main, honestly. I love Pac-Man. I look at his yellow face and that big smile of his, and it fills my brain with so many endorphins. But yeah, they could do like a Pac-Man track that could be pretty cool. It's like in the maze, but it's like 3D, and so it's all like black and blue color scheme. It's like the Matrix or something, or like Tron almost. I don't know. That could be kind of cool. But yeah, it's hard for me to. I'm looking at my amiibo shelf just to see other characters or something they can do. But it's hard for me to think like what other tracks could they do that they've not done already. Like they've got this new one, Mario Brothers circuit or whatever. That's like a desert. We've seen plenty of deserts already, and you can say like, oh well, this isn't like a Egyptian type desert with pyramids. This is more of like a But even you've got stuff like Calamari Desert that also kind of scratches that itch where it's kind of more Western, or Sunset Wild. So it's not anything we haven't really seen before, to be completely honest. So yeah, I don't know. It's like where do they go from here? Um, so that's part of the reason I do kind of hope that they bring back a lot of the old content. Um, but but yeah, we've talked long enough, I think, about Mario Kart 9 and kind of what I. Oh no, we haven't. We haven't talked enough about it. Because something else I want to get into is the single player content. Uh, it's pretty slim pickings when it comes to Mario Kart 8's single player. Really, most Mario Kart games single player, with the exception of like Mario Kart DS had the mission mode. I want the new Mario Kart to have a big single player focus. I want it to give me stuff to do even if I can't get together with friends to race, because I love Mario Kart. But that would include like even if I'm racing online against other like real people around the world, whether there's like some kind of a you know I don't know if I necessarily want daily challenges because those kind of stress me out if I feel like I'm missing a day. It takes away the fun and makes me feel obligated. But maybe if they have some kind of a monthly, challenge thing going on where it's like you've got the whole month, you've got 30 days, and it's not like, oh, you've only got 24 hours, so you better play this game literally every day for the rest of your life and get super burnt out on it. But I don't know, some kind of an achievement system or something where it's like, you know, like a ranking system. Maybe you rank up for, winning a race and like you try to get S rank or whatever, or triple crown 3-star rank. I don't know. And then maybe that's how you unlock certain like car customization options and stuff. Like I don't know, but I want whether it's in the form of just like a lot of unlockables or I want there to be an incentive to keep going beyond if I've got other people to race with. So I hope there's a lot of content. I hope there's like a single player mode that has a lot of content. People have talked about. I don't know if I necessarily need it to be like Diddy Kong Racing, where you've got like a 3D hub world that you can drive around freely and then go to different like areas and stuff. Like I mean, that would be neat. At the very least, I would like to see them bring back the mission mode from the DS game, but with like even more content. It had like bosses you would fight in like arenas. That would be awesome. Bring back the bosses where you're fighting like in that game, it was mostly like they were pretty much all bosses that were in Mario 64 DS. So they kind of recycled content that way, but it was still really cool though. You had like King Bob-omb and one of them was a race against a giant Wiggler, and then you had like King Boo and I-Rock, which is kind of a more obscure boss. So yeah, bring back those bosses in the arena. That was really cool. Have a bunch of different missions with a lot of variety, kind of like how in Mario Kart you had like drive through all of the rings in order. It can be basic stuff like that, but then also more engaging stuff as well. So that would be really cool to see if they've got like a kind of do like how Smash Brothers would do with its mission mode up until Ultimate, which kind of changed things. But where it's like we got I like to see like maybe like 100 different missions that you can complete. But then there also be like a single player. Mario Kart's always had kind of like the Grand Prix you go through. Give me like a bajillion of those to get trophies in, and you can kind of like remix it. Where because normally you've got your mushroom cup and your flower cup and your star cup and the special cup and all that stuff. But they could have all those, but then they could also like that would just be more content, but without really adding any, like just kind of repurposing stuff that's already in the game. Like maybe make it where like there's a trophy I can unlock for doing the Snowflake Cup and it's all winter tracks, or like this one's the Cactus Cup and it's all the desert tracks put together. Or this one's the the N64 Cup, and it's all the Nintendo 64 tracks, and this one's the SNES Cup. You know what I'm saying? Just like a bunch of different cups where it just takes the tracks and just puts them in a new order, just kind of shuffles them up, and it's like, here, go nuts, complete this on 50, 100, 150, 200cc in mirror mode. Like that in and of itself, if you do enough of those, that adds a significant amount of content to the game. And I would definitely want to get all those trophies. So there's easy ways they can pad it out with the content that they have. But if they wanted to go the Diddy Kong racing route and have like a full hub world and stuff, like that would be cool too. But again, they don't have to do that. There's other ways that they can have plenty of single player content that would appease me. Especially if you've also actually got more of an incentive to race online against random people. Because there's really not one. You just do it for the fun of it in Mario Kart 8. But I would like to be working towards something, building toward unlocking something or achieving something. So yeah, like a achievement system or like a mission structure. That would be really nice to have. Maybe they could even have like a double dash mode where you've got two racers in a cart. So then if you've got 24 people, then it's like 48 characters on the track. But that would be kind of cool if they had like that as like an optional mode. Personally, I wouldn't be like dying for it. I really like Mario Kart Double Dash. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. But I don't necessarily need to go back to having two racers in a cart again. But I have heard a lot of people say that they would like to have a Double Dash too. So to appease those people, yeah, have a separate mode where you can have two racers in a cart. That could be kind of fun. But yeah, I don't think I really have much else to say about Mario Kart 9 or whatever they end up calling it. That's kind of another conversation. I feel gaslit by the Nintendo community because when people were talking about the next Mario Kart, for the longest time, it felt like everybody was saying, it's going to be Mario Kart 10, it's going to be Mario Kart 10. We already got Mario Kart 9. That was the mobile game, Mario Kart Tour. Nintendo said it themselves. They said when they did the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC that they were bringing in tracks from previous Mario Kart. So that implies that the mobile game was a mainline game. So we already got Mario Kart 9. But since we've had this little teaser, I feel like now everybody's saying, okay, when are we going to expect Mario Kart 9? So it's like this whole time, people were saying that we already had Mario Kart 9, and now they're backtracking on that. So I don't know. I've always felt like it was kind of weird to include the mobile game as like a mainline Mario Kart game because I don't, excuse me, I don't think it is. I don't think Nintendo sees it that way personally. Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be Mario Kart 10. I don't know if it's going to be Mario Kart 9 either. Some people have been like, what are they going to call it? Mario Kart X, which Roman numeral wise that would be 10. Or maybe, Mario Kart 8's already got kind of the Mobius strip. They could flip that on its side, call it Mario Kart Infinite. I'd be okay with that. Or maybe they'll call it Mario Kart Mobius, or maybe it's a name that we don't expect, because it doesn't have to be numbered. Everybody's like, oh, well, of course it's going to be Mario Kart, just the next number. Like, why would it not? But Nintendo hasn't been doing that, except Mario Kart 7 and then 8 are the only two numbered entries. Before that, it was usually named after either the console. You had Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, Mario Kart 64 on the Nintendo 64, Mario Kart DS, Mario Kart Wii. Now, obviously, they're not going to call it Mario Kart Switch 2. That would be kind of weird because the first one wasn't Mario Kart Switch. Mario Kart Wii U or whatever. So I don't know. It could be more like Double Dash, where the name is based on the core mechanic, but we just don't know what that is yet. Or it could be something like Mario Kart Super Circuit, where it's just a subtitle. It's not a number. So there's any number of routes they could take for it. So we'll see. I don't think it matters all that much in the grand scheme in terms of like hurting sales. Like Switch 2, pretty straightforward name. Not like the Wii U where it's all confusing, whatever. I don't think they have to worry about that with the games themselves. I don't think you have to put the next chronological number for people to understand what it is. So whatever they call it, I think it'll be fine. Yeah, do I think it will be the launch title? We've already been going for over an hour. Maybe we'll hold off my thoughts on the April Nintendo Direct and the February one and do that. That can be next week's episode or something. Because yeah, we've already gone over an hour, and that's kind of was my target for when we were going to wrap it up. So this would be a longer video than anticipated. Maybe this will end up being an hour and a half. I don't know. I kind of want to wrap up shortly because I'm thirsty. I'm out of water and my tongue feels very parched. but we will keep going at least for a little while. This is very casual, nonchalant. This podcast, just kind of talking off the cuff. I might make a couple notes on my phone, on my notepad or whatever, to kind of keep my thoughts organized. But I'm not reading off a teleprompter or anything. We're just kind of, winging it. We're having fun. So if it doesn't adhere to a strict 1 hour mark, that's fine. We're just kind of playing with things, see how it goes. But yeah, I don't know, because that's the only game they've shown. Up this whole time, I've been thinking the new Mario Kart's probably not going to be the launch title for Switch 2. I don't think it needs to be. But since they teased us with that game and only that game in the Switch 2 promotional video, whatever you want to call it, teaser trailer, reveal trailer, that's got me second guessing it. I don't know. Maybe it will be the launch game. Personally, what I think the launch game needs to be a single player game with substance. Whether it's like an open world, like if it's the new 3D Mario that they're obviously working on, kind of like how Breath of the Wild was on the Switch 1. Obviously, they're not going to launch with an ambitious new 3D Zelda because they just came out, a little over a year and a half ago, I guess at this point, with Tears of the Kingdom. So they've not had time for a brand new mainline 3D Zelda game. They just came out with a 2D one last year, being Echoes of Wisdom. So I think an ambitious new open world 3D Mario game would fit that slot. That's what I'm hoping is the launch game. Because here's my thing with Mario Kart. Mario Kart's obviously a big system seller. Like, it's far and away the best selling game on the base Nintendo Switch. But that wasn't a launch game. It came like a month or two later. Yeah, I think the console launched in March, and so that game came out in April, I want to say. Is that right? And then did ARMS come out in May, and then Splatoon in June? Something like that. They were pretty good about having like a game every month. But yeah, it wasn't the launch title. The launch title was Breath of the Wild. You want, I think, a big single-player focused game for the hardcore gamers, because those are the people, we're the demographic who's going to be trying to get this system on day one. The more casual people who, buy a Nintendo console for Mario Kart and maybe a couple other, like Just Dance, or something like that, they're probably not going to be getting it at launch, so you don't need to launch Mario Kart with it. Have a big single-player game for the hardcore people at launch, and then you can release Mario Kart, in the holiday season, closer to Christmas time, because that's when the general adopters who really, really want Mario Kart are going to be getting it anyway. Not to say that hardcore people, like, I love Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8, I think, is one of my favorite games, period. But even so, I think I would be a little underwhelmed if the launch title is a Mario Kart. I want it to be a substantial single-player game. And then Mario Kart come, whether they do a repeat and it launches the following month, or if they want to wait closer to the holiday season. Yeah, I don't necessarily want it to launch with a multiplayer game. I want it to launch with a big single-player game with a huge scope. That's what I want. Preferably a new 3D Mario game that's open world like Breath of the Wild was. I think that would be really cool. But I'm not going to go super deep into my hopes for the next 3D Mario, because we'll save that for the, I guess, next week's video when we finally talk about the Nate the Hate rumors and the February Direct and the April one and all that fun stuff. Which is kind of funny. That was the main thing I wanted to talk about in this video, and then we ended up talking about Mario Kart for like this entire time instead. Yeah, so I guess that's it for the main portion of the podcast. I guess I'll spend a little bit of time. We've already gone kind of longer than I wanted, so I'll maybe condense it. But we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the games I've been playing this week. I've been playing a lot of Mario Maker 2, so that's going to be fun. I fell out of that game. It's funny. A lot of people crap on Mario Maker 2 and say, like, oh, it was so underwhelming. The first one was better. The second one just didn't capture, what made the first one so great. I think those people are insane. I think Mario Maker 2 is the perfect sequel in every way. I was underwhelmed with the first Mario Maker, honestly. I'd always wanted a Mario level editor, but the thing came out on Wii U, and I just didn't get into it. really. I made a handful of levels. I might have put like 40 hours into that game. Mario Maker 2, on the other hand, I had already sunk probably, I don't know, 100 and probably maybe close to 200 hours in total. I don't know. Um, and then I picked the game back up after, like, I've been wanting to go back to it for years, and I finally did that about a week or so ago, and I've probably already sunk almost another 100 hours into that game. It's crazy, but Mario Maker 2, people complain that they got rid of the amiibo costumes that were in the first game. I don't really care that much. Some of them were kind of neat, but like you can only use those amiibo costumes in like the NES style with like the 8-bit graphics, and like I don't want to make 8-bit levels. I want to make levels themed to Mario World, or the more modern Mario games, or even Mario 3, which granted, okay, that's 8-bit, but still, it looks a heck of a lot better than the original 1985 Mario Brothers. So having those skins relegated to just that, and also the characters not having any special abilities, like Kirby not being able to float or inhale enemies, or Samus not being able to use her like shoot missiles and stuff. I didn't really care for it all that much. Like Sonic, it's kind of cool that you can have Sonic in a Mario level, but like he can't spin dash, he can't go through loop de loops. So it's like, eh. I'm not. I wasn't that disappointed. Hopefully they'll bring something like that back in the new game, because in Mario Maker 2 they did add like a, they added Link. You could get the Master Sword in the 8-bit style, and he could use like bombs and his bow and arrow and his sword and stuff. So that was pretty cool. If they want to do that with like other characters like Kirby, like just give them a full move set and like make it to where like they can, like Kirby can swallow Koopas and spit out the shell and stuff, like that would be awesome. I'd be all about that. Or just give us a Kirby maker and a Donkey Kong maker, that too. I'd buy them all. Zelda maker. But yeah, Mario Maker 2, like the first game, part of what was so underwhelming about it for me, you know, most of the environments you could theme your levels around were just based on Super Mario Brothers 1 for the most part. You'd have your underwater theme, your underground theme, your sky theme, your just basic grasslands theme, your castle theme. And then they did also have, I guess, a couple from Mario 3. You had like your airship. You can make an airship themed level, so that's pretty cool. Or you could do like a ghost house. But I really wanted more biomes, so like to be able to make snow themed levels or to be able to make desert themed levels. That was something that they added in Mario Maker 2. That was a huge deal for me. Everybody was like wording and moaning about adding slopes, and that was like the first thing they showed off in the reveal trailer for Mario Maker 2. I wasn't like begging for slopes necessarily, but they put that in too, and that's pretty cool. But they also had just a crap ton of other stuff. Eventually, with updates, they added like the Koopalings, so you could put them in like your castle levels as like as bosses, and not just, because at first it was just like Bowser and Boom Boom and Bowser Jr., and that was it. So they added a bunch of extra bosses, just all kinds of stuff really. And then eventually in like 2020 they added a whole world builder where you could like combine up to 40 of your levels on a world map. You could create the world map yourself. You could have up to 8 worlds, and each world having up to 5 levels, and that was amazing. Like I didn't think they were ever going to do that, because it's like, well, that might be giving the players a little too much power, and then it might be like, well, next time Nintendo comes out with a new 2D Mario themselves as an original game, then it's like, are people going to want to buy it? Or they'll be like, well, I've got infinite Mario levels here in this, world builder or whatever, which granted, most people you play, and they're not nearly on the level of polish as a actual level made by Nintendo. But they did it, and then they came out, a few years later with, well, more than a few, probably like 5 or 6 years later with Mario Wonder, which ended up being fantastic. But yeah, Mario Maker 2, I think it's just awesome. It's everything I wanted from the first game, and then some. There's other things that they could do that I would have liked, but on the whole, it's still really, really good. Like, if they want to add like for the next one where you can do volcano levels that aren't necessarily castles, or tropical level. I think that's a big missed opportunity, that you can't do like a tropical environment. Just kind of have all of your basic new Super Mario Brothers esque, environment, themes in there. They got most of them, but so there's definitely room for growth. Although I'd love a 3D Mario Maker, would be amazing. That's the dream. I know there was that that came out last year. Mario Builder 64, I think it was called, that you can download. It's like I guess a ROM hack. That's like a fan made Mario 64 level editor, which is awesome. I've been tempted to download that, but I'm scared of like getting a virus or something. Because it's a pricey laptop that I do all this YouTube stuff on, and I don't know. I've never really emulated before, so I'm kind of scared of like knowing what site to go to. Where's like a reputable place to download it? And I've read some stuff about like, oh well, this N64 emulator had like an exploit in this version that allowed malware to get in stuff. So I don't know. I've been kind of hesitant to get on that ship, but yeah, I've got a video that's going to be going up at the time of recording this. I'm recording this video on Friday the 24th. So probably on Sunday, I think, is when I'm going to upload the video. I'm going to post where over just the past couple of weeks, I've been working crazy on Mario Maker 2, making essentially an entire sequel to Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. So it's 40 new Super Mario World levels with an asterisk, because there might be like 3 levels in there that's maybe themed to Mario 3 or the original Super Mario Brothers. Spoilers. But on the whole, so you've got 37 Super Mario World levels plus 3 that's not Super Mario World themed. In this collection, I've spent probably over 100 hours fine-tuning these levels, trying to make them feel authentic to something Nintendo would make in terms of level symmetry. If you got 3 coins on this side, you got to have 3 coins on that side, and just thinking about, fine-tuning the difficulty. I want it to be more difficult than Super Mario World, because Super Mario World was easier than Mario 3, for example. So I wanted this, because I'm making this to be an unofficial sequel in a way to Super Mario World. So I want it to be the difficulty to kind of pick up where Super Mario World left off. So this is for experienced players who have already beaten Super Mario World and want more levels that offer more of a challenge. And my motivation for doing this, I actually started this project back in like maybe 2021, like sometime after Nintendo had updated Super Mario Maker to where you could put your levels together into like a world map. But I started working on this for my brother because Super Mario World, he always used to say, was his favorite game of all time. He's since changed that, I think, and now he likes Breath of the Wild as his new favorite game, which is kind of crazy because he's really not even much of a Nintendo fan. But he grew up with a Super Nintendo as a kid back in the day. So Super Mario World was, he loved playing it as a kid. And, he's my older brother by about 7 years. So as I got old enough to play games, Mario World was one of my first games, and he and I would play it together and kind of bond over it. A lot of fond memories associated with that game. And I know my brother said before that he would love to see just a sequel to Super Mario World that has the same graphics, the same Super Nintendo graphics. So, I really love editing and creating stuff. I make YouTube videos now, so now I'm a content creator. I'm working on writing a novel. Hopefully, I'll finish that, and maybe I can get that published. And like I'm, really interested in animation. Like I'd love to make cartoons someday. Have like an animated series on like a major TV network. So I love creating stuff, and I love making levels in Mario Maker. And I thought this would be something fun to do. Just as a personal project, and also something that I can experience with my brother. Because now that I've put these levels together, I'm really looking forward to getting him to play them and get his thoughts. Because I put a lot of work into it, so I hope he likes it. But if he hates it, I'll probably be crushed. But anyway, I think he'll enjoy it though. I feel like I really fine tuned the levels. But I've got a video coming on Sunday where I play through the entire thing, going through all 40 levels. I don't go for all the secrets, so if you want to play it for yourself, because I've uploaded these levels online, you can play the course world and go through all of them yourself. But each level, I've hidden 3 giant coins, kind of like how the new Super Mario Brothers games have star coins. And it's supposed to be there's a 10 coin, a 30 coin, and a 50 coin. And you find them in that order. So if you go through the level and you find the 30 coin, but you didn't get the 10 coin, you'll know you passed one. So that's kind of part of the challenge, to try to find all 120 giant coins that I've hidden across these levels. Although I think I might have messed up as I was playing it in the video after I uploaded it. I think there might have been a couple levels where there were 2 coins that were both worth 50. So that might cause a little confusion there, where you think you passed one but you didn't. Where instead of having like the 10, 30, 50, I might have accidentally had like 10, 50, 50 or something like that. Yeah, so a couple things as I was playing it online, or in the video after uploading it, I noticed like, I should have fixed that. Oops. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way without deleting it and re-uploading it. I can like patch that out. It would be kind of nice if there was a way that makers could patch their levels after they upload it without it resetting like the likes and other people's high scores and stuff. But yeah, at the start of the video, I put the my Maker ID up on the screen, so you can, if you have Mario Maker 2 yourself, you can punch that in and you can play through all 40 of these levels I made, and hopefully you enjoy them. Hopefully you have as much fun playing them as I had making them. But that'll be a fun video coming out probably on Sunday. It actually, because I don't know when I'm going to upload this video. This video that you're watching right now might go up on Monday. So it might already be up by the time you watch this video, by the time this podcast actually goes out. My Mario Maker video might already be on the channel. But yeah, so I would really appreciate and be honored if anybody wants to check it out, that video, and then play the worlds themselves that I made. But yeah, I tried to make it very faithful to something Nintendo would make, but with some liberties here and there. Like, for example, the difficulty curve, much steeper than something Nintendo would do. They like to introduce a mechanic and then kind of, very gradually build up the difficulty. I made this with the assumption that you're already an experienced Mario player. So this is kind of a Nintendo game if Nintendo made games not just for people who maybe this is their first game they've ever played. You know what I'm saying? If Nintendo made games more for the hardcore audience that lives and breathes Mario games. Because I love Mario, it's my favorite franchise, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more of a challenge sometimes. But that was a lot of fun, so that was a big thing that's pretty much the only game I've been playing in my free time over these past couple of weeks. Another game I've been playing, and this is part of the channel because I wanted to do a playthrough of it, timely, while it was a hot topic, but Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which is a re-release of a game that came out on the Wii, and I really, love that game. It's one of my favorite Wii games, but I hadn't played it in several years, so it was a lot of fun to go through that again on the channel. In some ways, I don't know if I fully enjoyed going back through it as much as I would if I was just playing it on my own time versus like having to commentate and make sure that what I'm saying is interesting. That can kind of be a little stressful and make it where I'm not fully focused, and I also can't hear the music because I have to have it turned down where I've got my headset on and I don't want the microphone to pick up double audio or anything. But it's still a great game, and after playing through it again, honestly, and I say this, if you watch those episodes on the channel, most of them are up now, but there's more that's still going to be coming up over the coming days probably. But by the end of it, I told myself, you know what, I think I actually do like this game better than Tropical Freeze. A lot of people will say that Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which was the sequel to this game, is better. I was always kind of back and forth, just kind of depends on the day, not sure which I like better. I think I like Returns better. Tropical Freeze has higher highs. Like, there's some levels in that game that's just so memorable that stand out. It's just like, wow, that was an incredible level. And the music is so good in Tropical Freeze, way better than in Returns because they actually got David Wise back, who was not present for that game. The bosses are better. Returns has a few bosses really most of the bosses are pretty forgettable, honestly. So Tropical Freeze improves in all of those aspects. But even though that game has higher highs and some very memorable levels, I would also say that game has significantly lower lows too. Playing back through Donkey Kong Country Returns, I feel like there's not a bad level in that game. In Tropical Freeze, there's a lot of levels that I just don't care for. There's like an entire tropical world that's almost nothing but water levels, and I hate all of them. I don't like the water levels in Tropical Freeze. Um, unlike the classic Donkey Kong Country games on the Super Nintendo, where you didn't have to worry about like an air meter. This game, Tropical Freeze, does the Sonic thing where you have to get air bubbles to replenish your air, and you have to be careful not to drown. I don't like that. I don't think that's a fun mechanic. The swimming is the swimming controls aren't bad, but they're definitely different than they were in the old Donkey Kong Country games. I feel like I have less control in Tropical. Like, you can move faster in Tropical Freeze. You can swim through the water much more quickly. But it's harder to stop on a dime. It feels a little bit less precise. So that can get kind of frustrating. So I don't like the underwater levels in Tropical Freeze, like, at all. And there's a lot of them in that game. That was kind of one of the big things with that game. Is like, we brought back water levels. And there's even a handful of levels that aren't water levels where I'm just like, oh, this level, The levels, I think, are also too long. In Tropical Freeze, levels have a lot more checkpoints because they're just like way bigger. And I think it's a bit much. I think Return strikes a better balance where there's more levels. Tropical Freeze has 6 worlds, and then there's like a bonus 7th world that only has like 3 extra levels. But Returns had 8 worlds. And each world might have more levels than Tropical Freeze's worlds did. I don't know. And maybe they're a little bit shorter, but I feel like that's good. I don't like super huge, long levels because it gets a little bit tiresome. It's like, well, I like how you can kind of beat them in shorter bursts. You don't get burnt out on one level too quickly. So even if the levels aren't as memorable, with a couple of exceptions, in Returns, they're just consistently good. I'm consistently having a really, really fun time with that game. Which just isn't the case in Tropical Freeze, where I'm either having, if this is Returns, I'm either having quite a bit higher level of enjoyment than Returns, but in a lot of cases too, it's like way lower. It's much more of a mixed bag, in my personal opinion. But yeah, Returns is just very consistent all throughout, and visually, in some ways the game kind of shows its age. The Wii port, it's a little lazy, to be completely honest. Nintendo just sells us the same game at full price, $60, when it was $50 back on the Wii like 15 years ago when it came out. 3DS version added extra content, a whole extra world, and it was $40 on the 3DS, but now here it's $60. It's got that extra content from the 3DS, but it doesn't have anything new beyond that. So in some ways, yeah, I can understand why people would feel like it's kind of a ripoff, but it's a darn good game, so I don't regret buying it at full price. I know a lot of people would be like, but, I understand if you pass on it if you already played the game. If you haven't, though, Donkey Kong Country Returns is a fantastic game, and I think there's enough visual improvements that I think this game, in the graphics department, kind of does stand toe-to-toe with Tropical Freeze. It didn't look like much of an improvement just from with YouTube's compression and everything, watching the trailers. And I do still kind of wish they had done more. They could have revamped the lighting engine and stuff and just made it look, make it look like the, what's the name of the stage? Is it Jungle Japes? Is that the name of the track in, or the stage in Smash Brothers? It was in Melee, and then they remastered it in Smash Ultimate, and it just looks gorgeous now. I would have liked to have seen this game get that treatment because I think it deserves it, especially if you're going to base an entire theme park off of it. Because, all of pretty much the whole layout of the park is based on this game. So, yeah, I think they could have definitely done more. They probably should have done more. I think they could have had David Wise come in and completely redo the soundtrack. Would have been awesome since he wasn't available to do it originally back on the Wii, but they didn't do that either. But darn it, it's still a great game, and visually, they do enough they make enough improvements that like, yeah, you put it side by side with Tropical Freeze, and I don't know if you can really tell that much that they released on different hardware. Like it feels like this could have been a Wii U game in a lot of ways. It's not perfect. There's like things here and there you can look, and like occasionally there's frame rate stutters, which is a big problem for a 15-year-old Wii game that you're charging full price for. How does that even happen? I don't really understand that. I don't even know if those were present in the original game, and I'm not even somebody who notices frame rate dips that much. But there were a few instances during my playthrough where I was like, ugh. And even like when I'm recording videos, I'm less focused on the game itself. But even then, I was still like, ugh, brother, ugh, what's that, brother? When the frame rate dipped. But man, I still love the game. It's like a 9 out of 10 game for me. The remake is maybe like or the remaster, I guess, not remake. It's maybe a 7 out of 10, maybe even 6 out of 10 in terms of being a remake. But the core game itself is still there, and the core game is still a 9 out of 10. So if you've never played Donkey Kong Country Returns, don't skip out of it. This is the definitive way to play the game by default. Because the Wii version had two-player co-op. When the game was ported to 3DS, that got cut. So it was only a single-player experience, and also half the frame rate. So it went from 60 frames on Wii to 30 frames on 3DS. But the 3DS version added a whole new world. So like I think 8 extra levels to explore, like in a bonus world after you beat the game. And in addition to that, the 3DS version also just had regular good old button controls. Because the Wii game, Nintendo gonna be Nintendo back then, and forcing the motion control gimmick. So if you wanted to do Donkey Kong's signature roll move, instead of just tapping the Y button, now you gotta shake the Wii remote to make him roll. You want to stomp the ground with Donkey Kong, make him pound the ground with his hands. Guess what? We gotta shake the Wii remote to do that too. Gotta blow dandelions in the wind with Donkey Kong's blowing ability, blow propellers, blow out candles. You gotta shake the Wii remote to do it. But so in this version, it's HD. It looks, nice and crisp and clean. In some ways, almost on par with Tropical Freeze. It's got traditional button controls, so you're not having to shake your controller and get a workout. I'm a gamer. Gamers were fat, lazy, sedentary, couch potatoes. We're sweaty. We're awkward. We don't want to be working out. We don't want to be exercising. So you don't have to worry about that. The game, it looks great on a TV, especially, on an OLED TV, and I have an OLED Switch. So the colors and some of those silhouette levels where it's like you've got the Donkey Kong and all the enemies in the foreground is all shadowed out. And then the background is all, sunset or whatever. I never was the biggest fan of those levels, to be honest, but playing them on an OLED, it's like, wow. Where you've just got the black colors are just, pitch black, just absolute black, contrasting with the vibrant background. Like, it looks so good on an OLED display. But you got traditional button controls, but you've also got the co-ops back, and all those extra levels, and those extra levels are a lot of fun. I remember when I played them on 3DS, because it wasn't Retro Studios, it was a different company, I think, that ported the game, and I guess that company also made the levels, if I'm not mistaken about that. So I remember playing them on 3DS and thinking like, these levels are pretty forgettable. But playing them on the Switch version, I was like, no, these are actually good, competent levels that if they weren't designed by Retro Studios, they feel like they could have been. And each one introduces a new gimmick that wasn't in the base game. Like, I thought that these extra levels just like recycled old content. But no, there's like a decent amount of stuff here that I'm pretty sure is not in the base game. And at times they recontextualize something, like where we take this mechanic that showed up in a previous level, but now we're putting a new spin on it. But other times I'm pretty sure there's like straight up new assets that were not in the original game that were made specifically for the 3DS version. So the new levels are good. They're worth playing. I enjoyed them. They're not like super hard, and like they don't have like a ton of like collectibles. It's just kind of finding puzzle pieces. You don't have to get like Kong letters or anything. But I had a good time going through those levels, and I kind of appreciate that the puzzle pieces aren't hidden in like super insanely obscure spots like they are in the base game, where you kind of have to use squawks to find them. But it's a really good game. One of my favorite Wii games. One of my favorite 2D platformers of all time as well. Uh, my favorite 2D platformer is probably Rayman Legends. But playing this game again, I'm like, man, uh, this game's better than I thought it was. So yeah, big recommendation. And once you 100% complete the game, you can go through it again in a mirror mode that unlocks, so you can try to get 200%. So you can go back through the levels, and it's using your same save file, so you can go about it in any order. If you want to play a level from World 4 first and then go back to World 1, it doesn't matter. But everything's mirrored, so you're going from right to left instead of left to right. And you can only take one hit and you're dead, so you don't have like Diddy Kong helping you with his jetpack. So it's pretty challenging. I never actually managed to 200% complete this game back in the day, and I don't know if I'm going to or not now that I'm like a grown adult. I've got less time to just play video games all day. Um, so I don't know, but maybe I'll rise to the challenge. I'm not sure, but so there's a decent amount of content here. There's you can do like time trials, but I'm not really into that. I don't really care about like high score chasing, so I've not really done any of that. But there's a decent amount of content here. If you've never played this game before, I'd give it a very, very strong recommendation. I think you'd be sorely missing out. It's one of the best 2D platformers ever made. And if you play this game alongside Tropical Freeze, like back to back, like beat this game and then immediately start Tropical Freeze, it's just a fantastic double whammy. I think you'll feel very fulfilled by the end of that playthrough. Um, but yeah, so that's what I've been playing. Um, I guess that's pretty much. Let me take a look and see where I noted down just what else I wanted to talk about. I think that's probably where we're going to wrap it up, unless there's something short that we can kind of knock out pretty quickly. Um, yeah, stuff on the April Direct and the rumored February one. I don't think we're going to talk about that. I did want to talk about the price point, the release date, all that launch game. I did talk about. I'm looking at that here. Hoping it's a 3D Mario. I don't really want it to be Mario Kart necessarily. But I didn't really talk about the price point or the launch date. I'm going to say $399.99 is going to be the manufacturer's suggested retail price. I think it'll be more expensive than the base Switch, which was $300. Still hasn't gotten a price cut, by the way, all this time that it's been on the market. Maybe they'll slash the price, maybe down to $200 or something after the Switch 2 comes out. That way that can still sell, and then eventually the Switch 2 will pass, or the Switch 1 will pass PS2 sales, I think will probably happen. Because the fact it's sold close to the PS2 and hasn't had a price cut at all is pretty amazing. So I think when they slash the price, like, that's going to shift a lot more units, even if the Switch 2 is already out by then, just for more casual people. Discount the Switch Lite to like $100. I don't know if they would still be making a profit off of it if they cut it to $100, but maybe one. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be $400. But if it's really as powerful as, essentially the same power as an Xbox Series S, which I think is around that same price, if I'm not mistaken, but it can also play games, natively in handheld mode. At that point, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's like, why would you even buy a Series S at that point, if the Nintendo Switch 2 can do everything it can do and more. It's not like Xbox even has many exclusives, because they just kind of put their games on other platforms anyway. So I appreciate them doing that, but it's maybe kind of shooting themselves in the foot. So yeah, even at $400, I think the Switch 2 is still probably going to sell really, really well. But between the harder or the more powerful specs of the new system, and also just inflation and everything else going on, and also Nintendo being maybe a little bit more greedy than they used to be, and knowing that they can get away with it, and kind of positioning their products at a premium. It's probably going to be $400, and each Switch game is probably going to retail for $69.99 also, which is unfortunate. It would be great. I think that would be amazing if they kept the price at 60 for their games. But I don't know, just the way the rest of the industry is headed, Nintendo's probably going to jump on the trend too and sell their games for 70. Nintendo used to really try to be the more cheaper, cost efficient company, but nowadays it's like everything Nintendo makes is kind of a premium. Talk about like the Switch tax or whatever. So that's unfortunate, but hey, I'd rather pay more for a good quality product than pay less for something crappy like during the Wii U and 3DS days where Nintendo would was practically throwing their games at you, trying to give them away, but no one wanted them because their games were crap. So I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah. And then the only other thing I did kind of want to talk about that I forgot about with the Switch 2 trailer. They show this weird thing because they show it going from like morphing from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, and it grows in size, and it shows the magnetic Joy-Cons and all that. They do this weird thing where it shows like the texture like break away from the old. So like I don't know if this new system's gonna have like a different like texture, like instead of having a matte finish, if it's gonna be more like, I don't expect it to be like glossy necessarily, but like I don't know, is it gonna feel different in the hands just texture wise? I'm not sure how to feel about that, but that's just something I kind of wanted to point out. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on it. I just hope it doesn't feel weird, like I don't know, like sandpaper or something. I'm like a little bit sensitive to certain textures, So I don't know. Hopefully it'll still feel nice in the hands. Won't feel too like rough and coarse. Like sometimes if I'm like at a public restroom and I wash my hands and then they've got like a paper towel dispenser, sometimes the paper towel, like if it's like, especially if it's like a cheap brand, it'll just feel really like, ugh, it makes me feel kind of squeamish. So hopefully the texture won't be weird, but I don't have a whole lot to say about that. Hopefully there won't be any Joy-Con drift to have to worry about. And I hope that they made improvements to the Joy-Cons themselves in terms of the gyro, to where there won't be gyro drift either, to where I can have that one-to-one precision motion control like with a Wii remote, to where, if I point it straight, the cursor's not going to just start trailing off, and then I have to press a button to reset it, and then it just starts trailing off again. I'd really hoped that maybe they fixed that by making it more like the Wii and taking the IR sensor that's in the bottom of the right Joy-Con and just put it on the front, put like a tiny little IR sensor between the L or the R and the ZR buttons, and that way you can point it at the like when you're pointing at the TV, it syncs up to, they could put like an IR sensor in the Switch 2 dock, kind of like how you had the sensor bar in front of your TV. Now you just point it at the dock, or if you're playing in handheld mode, maybe the screen itself has like an IR sensor like on the middle of the bezel at the top or something, But they didn't go that route, so, I don't know. But I want the Switch 2 to be future-proofed to where, if Nintendo adds, expands the Nintendo Switch Online game library to include Wii games, you can still have the precise Wii Remote and Nunchuck controls, but with the Joy-Cons. And if they want to port DS and 3DS games, you can still have the two-screen display. So some people have theorized, and I do kind of hope that maybe like since there is going to be the extra USB slot on the top, that maybe you can plug in a second screen or something to make it like a ginormous DS. It's going to be huge if that's the case. But I know before like the hardware itself started leaking a few months ago, I'd kind of hoped it would be like, how they've got those like, I don't know if they're still doing it, but there for a while it was kind of like flip phones were making a comeback, but it's like your regular cell phone, but then it would be like you could like flip open a compartment where it would have like it would add like a physical keypad to the bottom instead of just like the digital one. If they could do something like that with like the Switch 2, where it's like you've got your system, and then if you're playing like a DS game or something, or like a Wii U ported game like Wind Waker HD, you could just like slide out the second screen. I think that would have been really cool, but that's not what we're getting, unfortunately. Oh well. But maybe that would have been like super expensive, and maybe it wouldn't have even worked practically. Because like where does it slide out from? Is that going to get in the way of like the chipset? Like I don't know. Hardware design is a very technical, complicated thing. But yeah, this video's gone on for almost 2 hours, and I didn't even talk on like half the stuff I wanted to talk about. So we'll save all that for for next week's episode. Um, but oh yeah, I guess the gigabyte, the internal storage. Uh, I don't know. Nintendo tends to not have a ton of storage. I think when the Switch launched, did it only have like 16 gigabytes of internal storage, and then maybe later versions like the OLED maybe had 32 or something. Maybe it had 64. Did it have 64? I don't know. But it launched like, yeah, it's like I don't even think that was enough to install Breath of the Wild. Like you couldn't even install the launch game on it. It had such a small amount of internal storage. Um, but especially if the games are going to be 4K resolution and stuff now, and more larger and ambitious. Nintendo's pretty good when it comes to compression and like condensing a lot of content and stuff into a small file size, but they're probably still going to be quite a bit bigger. So hopefully there's a decent amount of internal storage. I've heard some people say like, well, probably at minimum 126 or 256 bare minimum. Knowing Nintendo, I think I would be more than happy with 128 or 256. 256 I think would be ideal. I don't see them having more than that internally. I mean, if they had like a terabyte of internal storage, that'd be awesome. But I ain't counting on that. So I'm thinking probably 128 is what I'm expecting, which will have some people disappointed. But for Nintendo, that's honestly quite a bit. Battery life, I don't know. I've heard some people say that the battery's probably not going to be as long as the Switch One's battery, or at least not after the revisions that came out. It might be more like the base Switch One when it first came out. Maybe had like around 3-hour battery on average, and they came out with better Switches that could last longer. So with the extra hardware and stuff, I'd say 3 hours. That's good enough for me personally. Especially if it's got the AC adapter in the top now, or the USB-C adapter, I should say. It's going to make it more convenient for charging, because you won't have that cord running, underneath you and poking you in the chest and running down between you. You can more comfortably charge it without the cord getting in the way. I think 3 hours will be fine. My Switch tends to say fully charged anyway, because I keep it in the dock. So if I'm taking it somewhere on a trip, it's probably going to last me that full trip because it's it already has 100% power. It's not like 3DS where I have to remember to charge it. It's always charging in the dock. So I think 3-hour battery life would be fine. If it's closer to 4 on average, that would be great. That'd be ideal. But I think 3 is probably what we're going to be, but it's fine. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much everything that I wanted to, well, it's far from everything I wanted to touch on, but that's everything I think that I'm going to touch on for this video. So thank you guys so very much for joining me for the first official episode of the Pictochat podcast. I think that's such a clever name that I came up with, but I keep forgetting it. I'll be like, I'll want to say the Nintintrovert podcast, because where this channel is Nintintrovert. I don't know why I can't remember my own podcast name I came up with. But I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this format. Constructive criticism is appreciated. Things you think that I could do better. If you want like different topics, than the ones on offer here for me to go into every week. Like, do you like where I talk about the games I've been playing, or do you want to see something different? I don't know. Let me know what you want to see from this channel. Maybe we could have a segment where I talk about something random that's not even to do with video games. I don't know. But yeah, we're pretty flexible. So just let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you thought about this podcast. Worked? What didn't work? Is it way too long? It's very low effort, low budget, I guess you could say. I'm not really doing any crazy edits. I'm just recording it and kind of uploading it as is. That's a lot of my YouTube content right now. If this channel takes off, and maybe if I ever start making money off of it, getting that ad revenue, and it becomes a feasible way to make a living, then at that point I'll probably start really trying to educate myself on how to be a professional video editor, get better lighting, better sound. Hopefully it sounds good though. I know our first few videos with this mic on the channel had some problems because the audio was peaking, and so it sounded like an old radio, like I was screaming into. But we've adjusted that, so I think the audio should sound a lot better now, hopefully, knock on wood. I think my lighting is quite a bit better than it had been, but it's still got problems. There's obviously a big, above my head here, a big circle of of light reflecting off my wall. But you know, so it may not be the most professional thing ever, but you know, if this channel does become more successful and, you know, becomes a viable way to make a living, then I'll start putting more effort into that sort of thing and more time researching how to make things look professional. I'd have to probably get like an actual recording studio or something where I have room to put like spotlights, and I don't know if I'd want to do the whole like green screen thing and all that. You could, I guess, um, but yeah. So let me know what you think of this podcast, what you would like to see in the future. If you have any recommendations for topics for me to do each week, or if there's a topic you want me to cover just in a future video, let me know too. It's like, hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, you know, and I'll maybe think about that and maybe talk about it next week. So yeah, let me know. But I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble for almost 2 hours now. If you listen to this all the way through, God bless you. um, but yeah, I guess we'll call it here. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you're not already. I would greatly appreciate it. And stay tuned for more podcasts. Again, I don't know if I'm going to do this weekly, every other week. I guess you could do it monthly. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. You know, I want to be able to keep up with it. And I'm worried I don't know if I'd be able to deliver one weekly, you know, consistently or not. But, you know, I do want to keep doing them. And then we're also still going to have playthroughs on this channel. I typically upload an episode of a playthrough Monday through Friday, so 5 days a week. And then on weekends, maybe I'll upload a video of maybe me doing some Mario Party. Maybe someday in the future, maybe we'll do live streams on the weekends. That's not anything I'm doing right now. I've never done a live stream. The thought of that's kind of scary, because if I say something stupid or accidentally say something politically correct, at least I can edit it out if it's not a live recording. But if I'm doing it live, then oh God, I might get canceled. But you know, eventually maybe we'll branch out into that sort of content. I'd like to maybe eventually start doing reviews and more reaction videos, like how I reacted to the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. There's not been a lot to react to, but, you know, in all likelihood, I'll probably react to the April Switch 2 Direct, and if there's one in February, we can react to that as well. So yeah, keep it locked right here to the channel for a lot more things pertaining to Nintendo, as well as gaming in general. And maybe we'll talk about some of my other hobbies on here as well, like animation. I love cartoons. I want to make cartoons someday. So maybe we'll have some of that on the channel. I could start uploading original animations, or I'll probably do that on a separate channel, but I'll let you all know when and if that starts happening. But anyway, that's enough for this video. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and be sure to let me know down in the comments what you think about the Nintendo Switch 2, about the new Mario Kart coming out, about Donkey Kong's redesign. How much do you think the system's going to cost? You know, what do you hope to see and what do you expect from the new Mario Kart? How many gigabytes do you think the new system's going to have in it? Let me know all that crap right down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought if you've played Donkey Kong Country Returns HD on Switch. Do you think it was a pretty lazy, bare bones port? Did you think it was good enough and you enjoyed it? Sound off in the comments below. But until next time, guys, thank you very much for listening to the Pictochat podcast. I almost forgot what it was called. Thank you guys so very much. Bye.